Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we just heard from our architect friend we need to combine passions in our life. Well, I've got two passions. You know, I use email and I'm a bit of an idiot. This makes me an email idiot. Now, we can see here there's me and the lovely Louise. Now, I work with Louise and she's a lovely girl. But, you know, I was just having one of those days where it felt like I was being shat on from a great height. You know, I just had work piling up in my to-do list. My colleagues were being of no help. And then Louise had the cheek to send me this email, and I've got to say, it really pissed me off. You know, like, it was just a sort of email where I thought, hold on a minute, that's out of order, okay? You know, we work together. That's not right. And I've got to say with you, I lost my temper, okay? And I was a little bit rude back, and I shouldn't have been. I should have, you know, I should have held myself together, but I didn't. And you know what? I didn't stop there, okay? I really felt like I really wanted to stick the knife in, you know? Like, you just get to that point where the anger's really bubbling up and you're like, oh, I'm going to get you back for that one. So I took things a bit too far. I then kind of realised that, well, maybe I should just, you know, take a step back and just have a quick read of Louise's original email just to make sure that I haven't gone too far. Because, you know, I wouldn't want to be stabbing her for no reason. It was then that I read her email again and thought, oh dear, okay, I might have overreacted slightly and I might not have read it quite right. You know, I might have put a subtly different meaning on it. Now, it was at this point I discovered that there are a few things that make it difficult to read emails. So one of them is we've only got a 1 in 2 chance of correctly identifying the tone of a message. 1 in 2. That means you can completely misread the tone of a message really easily. The other thing that really affects your ability to understand a message is the day you're having. You know, if you're having a day where you feel like you're pushing shit up a hill, okay, it is going to affect the way you read a message. The other thing you have to bear in mind is there's something called the actor-observer effect. And that is where if you receive a bad message from someone, then you go, oh, they meant to do it on purpose, okay? They did it on purpose. You send someone a bad message, then it's like, oh, you know, there were reasons for that. And there's a great example of that. If we're driving down the road and, you know, someone comes along and they cut you off, okay, they cut you off. It's like, oh, you wanker, you don't know how to drive. You know, you did that on purpose. Whereas, you know, if I'm driving along and I happen to, you know, cut someone off, and, you know, I didn't mean to, it's because there was someone in front of me. Or, you know, I had to get off the road really quick, you know. Look, Mr. Judge, I didn't cause that fiery carball accident, you know. It wasn't me, okay. You know, it's just because I had to get across the road quickly. And it's the actor-observer effect. Now, it's one of those things where in everyday world, we know about all of these things. We know that we need to take a deep breath and count to 10. And it's something that our mum used to tell us, okay? You know, if I'm really angry and upset, you know, mum would say, count to 10 and calm down. Okay, it's really easy. But for some reason, when we're in the workplace, that's really difficult. You know, and I'm sure there's some people around here who might be dating, okay? You might be in a relationship. Now, you know, if you receive a message from someone, do you respond immediately? No. Do you respond within an hour? No. No, it's like you might wait a few hours, okay? You know, you might be really busy, okay? You might be there really busy with lots of things on your plate. But are you going to respond immediately? No. If you're sitting there staring at a phone, you're not going to respond immediately. But when we're in the workplace, for some reason, we feel like we're on a hair-trigger response, you know? You're sitting there, and if you receive anything, then you're just going to respond as quickly as possible. And you've got to be really careful if you're working with Americans, okay? They just go off. And it's also really difficult if everybody in your office thinks you're a wanker. Now, if they think you're a wanker, then that means even if you're trying to send them something nice, they're going to interpret it as something bad. You know, if you're Carl Sanderlands, you're going to have a very difficult problem communicating with people. So, you know, you might have forgotten about Louise. Well, look, it turns out Louise is really thin, and she found my email hilarious. She was in stitches, and not because I'd stabbed her. So, yeah, and then, you know, there was this office party where me and Louise, you know, we kind of ironed out our communication differences, and it turned out that we could actually collaborate together really well. You know, it was one of those things where things just carried on between the two of us, and it was a beautiful time between us. And, you know, things just kind of kept going. But then I got this message, and I don't know, it just seems a bit difficult to read. I mean, I've tried it with different tones, and, you know, I've tried considering, you know, whether I'm in a bad mood or whether I'm just, you know, putting a meaning on it that isn't there. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've tried count to 10, but it doesn't seem to change. I know. Oh. Thanks very much.